Welcome to the Side Quest live on a beautiful, beautiful Sunday evening in wherever you're located. That's where we're located too.
Everywhere you're located.
Everywhere. This week we have Taylor and I are on the episode today. I think Zach is pleading the fifth 440 times, so he's not going to be with us. Until maybe later. I don't know. Zach's actually upset that I got the review code for this game that I'm about to talk about today.
He's protesting.
He's protesting. Yeah. JJ may still be hot in his house. We don't know.
He's always hot in his house. Let's be honest.
It's always hot in it's Seattle. I mean, it's the desert, right? And then you got Zach. You got Sam, who's just being Sam. So that's good.
Yeah.
No, that's always good. Hey, I'm Dolly Demoski. This wonderful person over here is
I'm Taylor Bliss.
The only Taylor Bliss. How you doing, man?
I'm great. Another week.
And
gone.
It's the end of the week.
Evaporated into nothing.
That's what happens in summertime.
Yeah. But you know what? It's all right. It's good. Everything's great.
That's good. It's good to hear. Are you enjoying the nearing of the end of summer?
No.
No.
I mean, I will say it's nice that I don't know how it was out there for you in the Midwest, but over here in the East Coast, the past 3 days have been quite nice.
Yeah, it's actually been pretty nice over here.
The weather broke in all the right ways.
Paul says he's excited for next year's Comic-Con parties.
Well, we can always appreciate that. We are also looking forward to next year's Comic-Con parties. Trust me.
In our own way, we are looking forward to parties at every major conference out there. Trust us. Hey, PAX parties are coming up, so
that's crazy. Oh God,
PAX is gonna be pretty interesting this year.
Let's
just dive into just chatting. We're just two buds on a conference call right now.
Talking about PAX West, which is coming up soon. I mean, PAX West is going to be interesting because so many things have been pushed that could have been. Yeah. PAX West is going to be the show of what could have been, because there are so many things that would have been really or potentially really interesting that could have made a showing at PAX West that still might show there, but are going to be less impactful than they would have been because they're no longer a holiday release. They're now a to be determined 23 release. So, there's going to be some stuff that that might be new, but a lot of stuff that we've already seen. That's going to just be there anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's for the 3 AAA games that are launching this year. No, just kidding. There's actually still a lot. Like, we went through the list of stuff, and we'll get that in a second. There's still a lot of games that are on tap this year. There's no shortage of things to play. But, looking at the list of actual companies that are going to be at PAX West, I don't want to say it's fully back to what it was before.
It's certainly more similar feeling than it was before.
Yeah.
I mean, that being said, like let's look at this ties right into the news because we had a direct about it this week, which is Splatoon 3. Nintendo's going to push a bunch of stuff at PAX West this year. Mm-hmm. They just did the Splatoon Nintendo Direct this past week, and they're tying actual media coverage into it by being at a convention for it. So, Nintendo's taking it seriously.
There is definitely they're doing a tournament over there, or a couple tournaments for Splatoon 3. They've got a Mario Kart 8 tournament that they actually sent me the info for, so they're doing that too.
That's actually extremely surprising.
Yeah, they're still pushing that game. It's still making money. Looking at that list, I mean, there's 3D, obviously 3D Realms. You got Bandai Namco is going to be there, so Bamco will be there. I don't know what they're going to be. I mean, what are they going to be pushing? The Pac-Man game, maybe? I don't know. Maybe a couple other stuff.
No, they're going to more Elden Ring.
More Elden Ring, yeah. But yeah, our friends at Berserk Studio are going to be there. There's actually quite a few. Brace yourself, games. There's quite a few companies. Champion Sport Athletic Wear. I'm sending JJ the Champion Athletic Wear.
Do you think that they
Dude, look at that logo? This is like their gaming logo. Can you
Yeah,
see
it is.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm wondering, did they make an agreement? Are they doing some specific, branded gaming apparel?
Must be.
I would think so.
I've got to say, I mean, it definitely is. Yeah, Devolver's going to be there. Devolver's at everything.
I would certainly hope Devolver's going to be there.
Yeah, and they got a bunch of stuff coming out. But Finji. It certainly seems like it's sort of a return. Again, not saying it's a return to Free League, not a return to form, because there's still.
Well, what it feels like is that we're going to see a lot of the stuff that we saw at PAX East. Some of the stuff that we saw at PAX East just got released. Cult of the Lamb is one. That's a Devolver joint. And some other stuff is still to be released, Terra Nil and those kind of games. And so those games are going to continue their circuit at PAX West. But then, like what we just talked about, Nintendo actually making a push and showing. Yeah. So PAX West is going to start to pull back to what it used to be, where we saw some of that other stuff. So if you're following coverage for PAX East, expect to see a continuation out of a lot of that stuff and a resurgence of some of the bigger stuff. Play On is showing.
Play On is
so
Raw Fury is out, and Red Bull.
Yeah, Raw Fury is still pumping out a bunch of stuff. I'm assuming that I did. God, what was it? Gamescom last year, I did the preview of Super Fuse.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, like it was Gamescom. Yeah.
So Super Fuse, I think, is probably going to start to make the turn where it's going to be more showable instead of just behind closed doors, if I had to make a guess. I certainly have not received any specific information on that. That's just a guess on my part. But
Sega will be there.
Sega and Sega. Wait, are those two different booths? Okay, no, both 803. For a second, I didn't. I wasn't reading fast enough, and I thought that Sega and Sega Europe decided to take two different booths. But
I think Sega Europe has like a soccer game, or they have some sort of. I know they do have kind of European specific.
A separate licensed
thing. And again, it could be the soccer thing, or it could be one of their Total War or whatever else they make that they're bringing there. But Ska Studios is great. They always.
Are they still? Ska just released. Was it Salt and Sanctuary? What was the most recent? Was that the most recent one?
I think so.
I mean, I'd be surprised if they were showing off another new thing. So I would assume that this is a continuation of promo for that game. But
you also have Skybound. Skybound they get bigger and bigger. Glitch Busters, WrestleFest, and a bunch of other things that they're
right.
That they're pushing out there. But there's definitely Studio Kumio. There's definitely a lot of stuff here, and again, it's interesting. Pokemon Company they're at a separate booth. Oh wow,
interesting.
They're separate booth in Nintendo, so they're bringing full. Obviously, the card game, but if they're making their push for it might be a good place to check out. Violet and Scarlet or whatever those two are. So
interesting.
That's Quantum Master Physics, Thunderful's at
Thunderful, of course.
Yeah, Tiny Build is always there too. And Tripwire, Uber. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. The only thing missing, here you go. There's your beer. Okay, so go get your beer with the Ranger. I think the only thing that's really kind of missing is people. Because I think there's still a lot of tickets available.
That's the biggest question, as always.
Yeah.
It's again all of these types of conventions, especially the fan-oriented instead of industry-oriented conventions, are always just going to be a question of we're going to see how it goes when it happens. And the way that it's going to go is that if the publicist for the event talks about how many people there were there, then it went pretty well.
Yeah.
If they don't talk about how many people were there, it probably didn't go that well. And that's just the way that it's going to keep going until we kind of get back up to those numbers that we want to advertise.
Agreed. Agreed. This is, PAX East was great. I think we really enjoyed PAX East. There was a little bit of a COVID outbreak, but I think it wasn't anything that, I don't
I,
want to say it wasn't anything, but
yeah, I mean, like shockingly, their overall COVID policies back at
yeah,
East were pretty
things are pretty
good.
good.
It was everybody has to be masked 100% of the time. If you're on the floor, if you're in the hotel, walking around and that kind of thing. Um, and vaccination was required. So I believe that's the same requirement for West as well,
Sure,
if
sure, yeah,
if
yep.
my memory serves properly. But
Yeah.
like I said, yeah, I was shocked because I came and went from PAX East and didn't think it.
Yep.
I did eventually catch COVID, and it was from my daughter from
There
me.
is exactly,
So
yeah. I didn't catch it
that's
from
the
there either. I caught it a few
that's the
weeks
way it
later
went.
from my daughter. But yeah, it's good stuff. PAX West, I think it's gonna be worth checking out just for the cool indie stuff. And I'm gonna have to send JJ. I gotta print out a bunch of Team Choice Awards and send stuff to JJ. So his
Yeah,
unfortunately his panel got bumped for Reggie. Reggie
bullshit.
Fils-Aimé. Bullshit.
Typical.
Bullshit. Um, but let's move on to other news here.
Yeah, what do you got for
You
me?
mentioned something kind of actually Nintendo related, and that's Splatoon 3. They
Later.
had their Splatoon 3 Direct. I'm a huge fan of the Splatoon series, right? So let me turn off the line here. It's a big thing in our house. We are nutso for the IP because it's a really well done multiplayer and single player game. Obviously, the online stuff Nintendo needs to figure that crap out, but the games are playing online is still a blast with Splatoon. And they definitely seem to be with this one working towards one thing that was an issue, which was the Splatfests, in that you had so inside baseball, teams would purposely choose the lesser. They would purposely aim to like the better players, the folks who are gaming the system, choose the lesser like thing. Like if it was like Peach,
Because they had a smaller
Mario,
pool.
a smaller pool, which means the ratio, if they win, the ratio is way better for that thing
Yeah.
to win. And so that was the way to play Splatoon in the Splatfest. This changes that by adding a third team, which I think is really cool. That means all three teams face off. So the first one is paper, rock, scissors, which is next weekend. Actually, they're giving that free beta test, the online
Right.
beta test. So it's three teams now in the Splatfest. The top team. So that you still play 4v4, so you can have like rock versus scissors, paper versus rock, whatever. But it's 4v4, and then after sort of the first round, the first couple days or whatever, first day, they kind of tally up who's in the lead, and whatever team is in the lead on sort of the third or the second half of this thing, you get in all three teams Splatfest. The team that's in the lead is now stuck in the middle, sort of defending their zone, and the two outboard teams, the two lesser teams, are now the ones that have to kind of beat the better team in the middle, which makes it much more competitive and adds a real nice zinger to the playability to the thing. So you're seeing some of the new moves here. Traversal in Splatoon was always really good, but Splatoon 2 got very vertical. Like you could actually climb up to some nice high points, which meant that you had to get up buildings really fast. So what you're seeing there is the squid surge, which is going to help bigly for those of us that do a lot of vertical movement, a lot of motion in the game to get those buildings really quick. And then the squid roll is actually kind of cool because you could not turn on a dime. You would get picked off very easily if you were not, phenomenal at playing keep away in Splatoon. So adding this in, I think this new kind of squid roll is actually a really, really cool thing. Get you out of the way pretty quickly. So essentially, that's you turn on a dime and back out of the way. They did announce a bunch of stuff there. I'm gonna pause it here. Blah, 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 scroll down. Some of the cool things are obviously some of the new battles and stuff. But new weapons, new accessories. You can definitely customize your character a heck of a lot more. The blow, which I think is called the Stringer weapon, and then the Splatana sword. So it's like basically swords are called Splatanas, which is pretty cool. I think it's a neat idea. And they have these locker things. So in previous Splatoon games, you would get together. You would have a character, or you could take a look at the opponents and teammates' gear after a match. Or I think during the match, whatever. You could kind of see what the people you played with had. And it was kind of interesting, but it was basically, kind of bland. It was essentially looking at just a one screen shot of what they have, and then you could try to pick up some of their gear through weird memes. This actually does full on lockers now, which I think ties into the whole Splatoon thing pretty interestingly, because it's like, hey, now this is meant to be a fun multiplayer experience. So they're Splatfests, right? They're of course it's gonna be a locker because it's like a bunch of kids that are playing, Nerf with each other and stuff. So what does view replies mean? That's crazy. So I think it's kind of a cool added feature to that. And then yeah, I don't know. Splatoon. I love Splatoon. The whole new single player storytelling. It's got a bunch of other stuff. There's the table turf battle card game, so deck builder it's built in. Splatoon has always had these sort of mini games in there, but I think it's for me it's just kind of a cool thing that this game has as well. So, and as Playland says, they promise these 2 years of continuous content support. They do. What's really good about Nintendo with Splatoon is that they, 1 year after after Splatoon 2 came out, they announced the Octo expansion, big DLC bump at E3.
Yeah, they basically took that idea, and instead of waiting, they just kind of did that up front. I mean, so that was part of the direct, is they, instead of waiting, letting people or making people wait for that period of time, they said, listen, you're going to get a big DLC content drop as part of this game.
Yep.
Just to make sure that people knew ahead of time that it was going to be part of it.
Agreed. And they haven't announced like a season pass or anything, which is kind of interesting because Nintendo does typically do that.
Switch Online Incorporated?
Maybe. I would not be surprised.
I feel kind of like both ways on this one, because this feels like a big driver. Like it's a huge kind of draw. I mean, we've talked on the Discord separately about kind of what the big Nintendo Switch IPs are, and we kind of agree that this is one of them, and so that Splatoon is one of them. So it's a matter of like, is it too big to incorporate as part of Switch Online? I mean, Mario Kart 8 is probably the biggest selling IP on the Nintendo Switch, and that was not too big to incorporate into Nintendo Switch Online. So from my perspective, incorporating whatever content patch is part of Splatoon is certainly not too big to help sell Nintendo Switch Online subs, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree with you. Considering that they added the Octo expansion as part of the Switch Online for Splatoon 2, so they want folks who don't have it yet. I think it's actually a smart thing. You don't have it yet. Here it is for free if you already have the Nintendo Switch Online, and check it out, because that might get people interested, I think, in either buying the DLC the next time around or getting into Switch Online.
Right, or at least the expansion portion of it, right? Because you need Nintendo Switch Online just to play it online, or to play Splatoon online in the first place. It's like, all right, well, how do we get those additional conversions onto the plus, the expansion portion of it?
Yeah.
Well, here's you want more Splatoon. Here's how you get it.
And again, we've talked about, you may not get a ton of big game releases right away, but on Switch Online, first party stuff. But the DLC, I think, is that's a good avenue. I would definitely subscribe to get.
They need to keep leaning into it, I think.
Yeah.
If they want continuous conversions,
and don't make it the DLC Aqua Expansions DLC is cool. From 4 years ago, 4 years
It's
ago
pretty
now.
old. It's pretty old now.
Pretty old. It's like, here, take it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about. But you got to get the newer stuff out there. The Splatoon 3 one would be great, and that it's day and date. It's on Switch Online, and it's nice to do the Mario Kart 8 stuff is good. But I really do hope that they, really focus on that, lead into that. And again, it's who knows what's going to happen with all this stuff, but Switch Online is gonna, let's play. Maybe that'll maybe get a Switch. I think it's almost rare to find, because of how well the Switch is selling. I think they showed some of the numbers last week and this week and stuff. It's rare now to find people who don't have a Switch, only because it sells so well. And I think Nintendo did. They revised their numbers. Obviously, we talked about last week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're pretty close to maximum install base.
You think, but
I would think
you would think, but this is where those special editions start to come in, right?
Yeah.
Parents still don't have Switches in their houses. Like the Wii was in everybody's home because the elderly it went all over the place. Get that Switch Sports bundle, which has got to be coming this year. You can no longer do. You may still have a Mario Kart 8 bundle again that Nintendo might push out there for the heck of it as sort of a way to get people to get into Switch Online. It'll have a big sticker. It says now with 48 more tracks. But you need to get that Switch Sports bundle out there because that's going to sell to senior living centers. It's going to sell to my parents. Might finally be interested. Like they still play the Wii because that's the only gaming console that matches what they want. But if my dad could get Switch Sports and finally upgrade, because the golf thing is going to come out in October too, which I haven't really talked about in a while. I think that's
neither is Nintendo.
Neither is Nintendo, but I think that's a big seller for them, and I think you're going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot more sales, and I think that's why they're confident in their sales numbers this year, even though folks like you and me probably won't get another Switch. Although I wouldn't mind jumping up to that OLED because that screen is really nice. But I'm holding out for
I know that we're not official and we're getting in. And we'll just retrace our same old rumor territory. Yep. But I cannot bring myself to do it because, as much as there has been a back and forth about whatever a new Nintendo Switch is, there is one coming. It's gonna come. It does. We don't know when for sure. Although we all, I think that on the SideQuesting side of things, we lean towards Q1 into Q2 of 23. The surrounding in the overall ambiance of Breath of the Wild 2, somewhere in there. I will say though, if it comes out, the second one, and it doesn't have an OLED option, I'll feel fucking dumb as shit. I'm gonna feel like such an asshole. If that game, if that console comes out and there's not an OLED option, I'm just gonna sit here. My pants will be down. I'll just be like, yeah, there it is. There's the egg on my face. What are you gonna do? They release the new version of it, and it still doesn't have OLED. And it's like, okay, what am I gonna do? Wait another 4 years for the OLED version of the new Switch version? I'd be so pissed. I'd be so pissed.
I'd be so pissed, and at the same time, I'd think, shit, but it's gonna perform better. Which means
that's the problem. It's like I'm not going to go back to the OLED if they release something that has new hardware internals that actually performs better, et cetera, et cetera. There's no way. I can't do it.
I completely agree. It's it's gonna be me being really upset.
But I also wouldn't. I would not surprise me in the least. New Switch hardware comes out. Boom. There's no OLED version. That's 2 years down the pike at least.
I would not. You know what? Here's my prediction. Maybe there are two versions of new Switch hardware. There is an OLED version and a non-OLED, more light dockless version that they sell. That becomes the split. That becomes a split, and then. But you want the OLED for not being docked. You don't want the OLED,
right?
Oh, dude, how they're gonna sell
Do not suggest it. Do
with an
not
OLED.
suggest to me. Do not suggest to me that we're gonna make a OLED dockless version and then a docked intended version with higher specs, but it doesn't have OLED. Fuck you. I
Oh,
don't want to hear it.
yeah, that's the response. Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. I
It would be
will.
the most Nintendo move ever. It
I'm gonna
really.
be so. I'm gonna be
Let's
so fucking
let's
pissed.
move on because yeah, we
I'm gonna
that's
lose
not
it.
coming this year. You know what else is not coming this year? Hogwarts Legacy,
That got
Marvel
pushed.
that got pushed. Marvel's Midnight Suns that got pushed.
Uh,
Let's see
I
what
will
else
say,
got pushed. Yeah,
Midnight Suns does not surprise me at
Metal
all.
Slug Tactics. Yeah. Midnight Suns.
Mid- Metal Slug Tactics actually did surprise me a little bit because they actually had something to show for it. But whatever publisher polish they wanted on it was obviously not there. But Midnight Suns hadn't really been. All we had was kind of teasers. So like that one was like sure,
Sure.
we hadn't entered that PR sprint of here's the game you're gonna get. We hadn't gotten there yet, so I'm not surprised that one moved over. Anything that if you have not started to see the true PR push of this is what this game is like and we can't wait to get it into your hands and blah 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 blah. If you haven't seen that yet for a game, it's probably not coming this calendar
Yeah.
year.
Right.
We're too late at this point.
You know what's
I
interesting
know.
is there are a bunch of games that were announced earlier this year but never got that were supposed to be launching this year but never got release dates. Like Metal Slug Tactics are thinking. I'm like, there was another sort of tactic type of game. Oh yeah, the
Advanced
Front
Wars?
Mission. No, well, Advanced
Oh,
Wars, yeah, but Front Mission that was supposed to actually launch this
yeah,
summer.
true.
The
True,
HTTV
true.
version of Front Mission and second, but yeah, the Advanced Wars game is nowhere to be
That
seen.
got
That
pushed. That got pushed early for other reasons, understandably so. After
well, it was supposed to be December last year, and then it got pushed to April to fix whatever issues they had, and then obviously the war in Ukraine. Yeah, Nintendo
right.
is very very cautious about that kind of stuff, so they may be waiting a little bit further. But I actually thought that was going to launch in August. I really did think that was going to launch this month. Like, hey, by the way, you got that they were going to announce it in June to say the game was coming out, but it's not. So that may be pushed to. They may just kind of dump that sucker out in November or December this year, or
I was
they
going
may
to say
wait
that's
till next
not.
year.
It's either going to be a holiday or wait till. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
It feels like something they put in the holiday to me.
Yeah, it does. It kind of does.
Obviously, it's what they wanted to put in the holiday last year.
Yeah.
But maybe they have a better idea of where they want to slot it for a specific sales target goal.
Nintendo has a really good slate this year, and it doesn't include any games that have not been announced. Like Nintendo's slate this year, we know all about it. They've drip fed stuff all summer, but we knew about all these games since like February, at the latest since February. So here's a list. I kind of posted this in our Discord of the games that after all these delays. Here are games that I know that we know are coming out. So I want to say the AAA games. Obviously, Nintendo has Splatoon, Pokemon, Bayonetta. Ubisoft has Mario and Rabbids. Is that pirate game this year too? Maybe, I don't know. Sega has Sonic Frontier. The pirate game? Ubisoft's pirate game thing. That's what's
the one that came from the offshoot of Black Flag.
Yeah, the one we can't
Skull
name.
and Bones.
Skull and Bones. Yeah, that's supposedly still coming this year. God of War, Sonic Frontiers, Gotham Knights, Callisto Protocol. Obviously, you have the Call of Duty, all those sports games. You got the Harvestella is coming out. I know Zach's really looking forward to that one.
I will say, if you want to talk about publishers, single publishers that are pushing the most, Square Enix,
yes,
is kind of pulling double duty this year as far as third and fourth quarters
right now. Yeah, I mean, Square has. I mentioned Crisis Core, supposedly still this year.
Yeah,
they got Harvestella. Are they doing Valkyrie Elysium? Is that them?
I believe so.
Diofield Chronicle is in September.
Diofield Chronicles.
And that demo is out, by the way. Check that. I haven't played that yet.
Is it really?
Yeah, the demo's out.
I've not tried it.
Yep. So yeah, they got a ton of crap coming out.
Yeah.
Square, good job to Square. And then, obviously Plague Tale, Last of Us, Saints Row, and then everyone's giggling about Overwatch 2, whatever that is, and then Soul Hackers 2, right? And there's even more. There's tons of other stuff. But
yeah, I mean the people Playland, just to respond to what you said, the people that say that there are not games is that there is, I'm not going to call it propaganda, but the mentality of the Game Pass games that have come to Game Pass are not, quote unquote big releases is definitely catching some traction. So there is a certain mentality of like Plague Tale Requiem in another year without Game Pass would probably be a big ticket item, or at least a bigger ticket item. It's not a platform identifying release necessarily, but it's a big game. I think that is the overall view of Game Pass has reduced it a little bit. But that being said, there's no platform identifying first party releases other than God of War Ragnarok that are really on the slate. And Ragnarok is a sequel. Yeah. It's not God of War remake or the newest God of War from 2018. That game was PS4 identifying. Those games are what's missing from this year, and that's what people are talking about. That there is no holiday game coming out that is platform identifying. Mm-hmm. And that's people are gonna complain about it. That's what people do. They complain, and it's crazy how easy they make it. I personally think that the first front half of this year was overly stacked.
It was.
We got some incredible first and second quarter games. Mm-hmm. Xenoblade Chronicles from Nintendo just came out. That game is really, really good. We'll get to that later because I'll talk about it more. Okay. We already had a really good year. And I think a lot of the major publishers and platform companies looked at it and said, you know what, this year was good enough. We're going to push the things that we can push so that we can properly cover for 2023. And that's the way it worked out. So, it's just for the same reason why we're going to start to see this continual bend of release date pushes until everything slowly evens out. So we'll still see some pushes from 23 into 24 next year as we kind of have compression from the release date pushbacks from this year and all that kind of stuff. So until everything really truly evens out, but my guess is that that'll happen between 2023 into 2024. 2023 will still see things that get pushed over to the next year. I don't think. If
you think Final Fantasy 16 is launching next year,
I think that there's reason to hope that it does, but there's also reason to believe that it doesn't. Correct. I think that both things are valid. It would be a really strong 2023 holiday release. I'll put it that way. Yes. It would be good there. And if you are a believer, exactly, Playland, you're on the right track. If you're a believer, that's what I would hope for. It's not going to be a summer release.
Nope,
it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I really wish it.
Yeah,
I wish it did. I mean, listen, if things turn out really good and it turns out that Square Enix looks at their holiday and says, actually, you know what, holiday's too stacked for X, Y, and Z reason, maybe they push it to summer. It's only if everything goes perfectly and it turns out that they have a holiday that needs to fill for other games. It's going to be one. Listen, the thing about it is that that's the way that it goes for every publisher every single year. We just don't know about it because publishers don't want to publicize those conversations that happen behind the scenes. But the reality is that this type
Mhm.
of kind of we're summarizing it in like 6 minutes, but this is the conversation that happens for every single release at every single publishing studio across the industry. Is that like, okay, well, what if we push this to this time and this to this time, and what about that for this quarter? That happens every single year. So yeah, Square is going to be looking at Final Fantasy 16. They're going to be evaluating how important of it is to a
Mhm.
release. Do we have to put it into holiday because of this reason or this reason, or what? Will we actually have this game already, et cetera, et cetera. Personally,
Which
I think I look at what Square has. I don't think they have anything that's
incredible.
bigger. You want the biggest game that you have to be in holiday is Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
There are always extenuating circumstances that can come up, that will come up, that will change that. But
No, it
that,
was it's interesting because you're seeing the reverse of the film industry happen with the game industry right now.
yeah,
And I actually kind of like it. The film industry, the game industry was like this for a long time. In that always around E3, you would get here's the
yeah,
date,
it was
here's the
so
date,
much more predictable. It
11
was
11 11, right guys,
yeah,
11 11 22. Like everybody was like, oh yeah, put it on the date, here is the day that the game is launching. Which movies are doing nonstop right now. Movies, they like Marvel and DC are saying here's the date that the next Spider-Man or Avengers, it's launching on this day. Like they already have those dates specced out for like 2024 and 2025. The gaming side is taking a step back and saying, you know what? We're aiming for Q2 2023. I much rather prefer that. Or if they say summer 2023, like Final Fantasy 16, I much rather prefer that than hard timeline, because it feels like it works better for the developers that they don't have to, like in the past, that summer 2023 would have been, this is June 18th 2023, but now summer 2023 is, this is September 18th 2023, right? So I think that actually does help the development side, because these poor developers are facing incredible crunch right now. But then at the same time, companies are realizing, because of the still, I mean, we're a we're not post pandemic. There's still a pandemic. There's two of them now. But we're in a world where it's no longer about going into the office every single day. We
yeah. I
have
mean,
to be more flexible.
regardless
Yeah,
of what we say about the pandemic,
yeah,
the scope of corporate environments have
yes,
changed
yeah,
irreversibly. And so
yep,
if you're in a situation where that doesn't apply to, know that it will apply to
mhm,
game studios,
yep,
probably forever.
yep.
So timelines will need to continue to be adjusted. It's probably going to take at least another 2 years for that to be figured out, especially at the larger, like the really big studios across the board.
Mhm.
Obviously, smaller studios are more nimble; they'll figure it out faster, or at least they have the resources or the flexibility to
I
do so.
I agree.
But at least another 2 years from now, not from the start of everything, for the bigger
Mhm.
studios to really be able to figure it out
Yeah.
and find a way that works for them. So,
Yeah,
and
end of 2024 is when you're finally going to start seeing them understand, like the end of 2024 stuff are games that some of those games are probably scheduled for late 2022, maybe even
right,
late 2021, but things have been pushed. To give you guys a little bit of inside baseball, the Suicide Squad game was set to launch alongside, initially, things that I heard, set to launch in the first few months of the new consoles, the Xbox Series X and the
yeah,
PlayStation 5. And the Gotham Knights game was actually set to launch in 2020. Like they were pushing that game because remember there was going to be the whole Court of Owls thing that they were talking about and a lot of that kind of stuff. Well, when the pandemic hit, all these companies that were working at breakneck speed to hit a lot of these dates really had to pull back and understand this whole new work thing. Um, and that changed stuff, and that was a domino effect. It's like, wow, you're discovering things and issues. I actually do think the games that are going to come out are going to be better for it from a development standpoint, because now they've actually had time to really go through and hammer out some of these issues. But yeah, you're seeing games that are launching in supposedly 2023 that were initially going to launch in like 2020 and early 2021. So, but I think one last thing, and we'll move on. I also think that this is why you're seeing a lot of mergers and acquisitions, because these companies need to get more studios under their belts so that they can.
Everybody needs resources. I mean, that's the biggest problem, is that everybody needs resources. I mean, whether it's development resources, whether it's technical resources, whether it's literally HR, financial, like, those kind of back of the house things that you take for granted. Everybody needs, that kind of human capital stuff. And then the one last thing I want to tack on is that what it really means is that because of the 5-year minimum, especially for AAA stuff, 5-year development cycle is kind of like that bare minimum for a AAA game. What it really means is that everything is kind of starting in 2021 into 2022 as far as kind of starting to figure everything out. So the first game that's going to come out entering into a full dev cycle into this new way of things, we're not going to see for like 4 years.
Yeah.
So like
25, man.
Yeah. I mean, like we're going to see game delays that might, anything that's been announced in the past 4 years, maybe we'll say 2 to 3 years at minimum, has a chance of getting pushed back because it had to get adjusted because of the change of the way of work. The only time that we're going to start to see that get pulled away is games that either were announced in the last 18 months or games that are going to be announced in the next 18 months.
Correct.
Those, that kind of 36-month window are probably games that are going to be much more solidified in our expectations by comparison. But
Agreed.
Everything else is like, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, it's going to be a new normal, but there are tons of games coming out. We're going to talk about
that is true. There's one new game still coming.
Too many. It is. We are. I look back at like everyone. Everyone always says their favorite year is this year or that year. 2009 was incredible. 2011 was great. It's like, dog. 2022 was phenomenal, and we're only halfway through it. Like 2022, the quality of games that were released
so high
is so freaking high just till now, and the whole back half of this is going to be Square Enix's best year ever for games. And obviously apart from like the big tentpole Final Fantasy stuff, this is a phenomenal second half for Square Enix, and really this full length of the year. So yeah, there's plenty, and you're going to see a lot more cool stuff. I mean, there have been a lot of games announced. I think that's why there haven't been so many games announced. To your point, why there haven't been a lot of games announced this year.
Yeah.
But I will say this: there were a couple quick announcements of games.
Hit me.
Alone in the Dark is back. So during THQ Nordic, they
that's right. THQ Nordic did do a little 45-minute promo. They announced a couple things.
And I think they did the right thing. And you're going to see a lot of this kind of stuff, which is reboots and remasters and remakes of and kind of up-res ports for the next year. A lot of this stuff has been in the works. Like obviously Alone in the Dark is much further apart. It's more of the Resident Evil 4 style full-on remake of a game, but you're also seeing the Gothic 1. Their Gothic 1 is coming out that they announced as well, but it's sort of a remaster remake of that first game of that original. So you're getting a lot. You're going to see a lot of this as the Last of Us remake, right? It's less resources because a lot of the work has been done, but it does fill holes. It fills those gaps in the lineups that these companies need to put games out. Again, this is great from my standpoint because it allows people opportunities to play games that they have missed that you don't want. Trust me, you don't want to replay a lot of these games on modern devices because they look like
Right.
absolute trash. Anything from
But
the
not only
N64
that, you know,
is
we're pulling in a lot of games from console eras, not areas,
areas. Yeah.
where PC porting was not the norm.
Correct.
So we're going to see a lot of the remakes as opportunities
Yep.
for PC porting, where
Sure.
it just wouldn't have been done before. I mean, you know, Xbox 360 and PS3 games, you had a very select handful of games that were like, yeah, this is going to come to PC too. It's not. It just wasn't the same back in 2008 to 2012. It just wasn't.
Agreed.
So, you know, that PC market is a very, you know, that's a market that a bunch of developers and or bunch of publishers are going to want to be able to capitalize on.
Let's move on and talk about some of the games that we've been playing.
Before we do, I just want to mention real quick because we did have Evo over the past over the past week too.
Yes.
I don't know if you had any thoughts. I have my own thoughts about it.
Did we talk about Evo on like Monday's show, last week's show? I think we did.
I don't remember. Did we?
We did.
Maybe we mentioned it.
But go ahead, but talk about it again. Yeah.
The biggest thing that I actually want to mention is that there was a bunch of games that got confirmed for rollback netcode.
Yeah,
and if we're going to talk about, it was a Playland confirmed that we did. He paid more attention to last week's show than I did.
But talk about the rollback at least. Yeah.
I mean, rollback got confirmed for Samurai Shogun or Samurai Showdown. It got confirmed for Dragon Ball Fighter Z. That's true. I did talk about how bored I was about Tekken because it sucks.
I love it.
One of the things that was interesting about Dragon Ball Fighter Z or Dragon Ball Fighters is that it's PS5 only. They did not incorporate rollback into the PS4 version. But it was, what is interesting to me is especially now that I've reflected on it, is just the overall impression about Evo was this. It felt like it was being pushed, because of how important Evo is, and because of how many different studios and games announced rollback as a part of the show. It was more impactful than it ever, and it made Street Fighter's omission of rollback netcode still that much more important. I don't know. Anyway, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I was reminiscing about this past week's stuff, and it was really, I was thinking about it again. It's still important to me.
Yes. Well, I think it's awesome. None of those rollback is coming to anything Switch related. It's mostly everything else. But no, I think rollback is definitely seems to be the way.
It is cementing itself as kind of the future of fighting game netcode and online play, and it's very interesting to we're in that moment of watching it happen. It's very cool.
Playland says Sunsoft is coming back. Yep, they are. We'll talk about that once they have they're having their showcase. I think next week or something. This
are
week,
they? They're
having a showcase. Yeah, probably show a couple games.
I'll be waiting.
Let's talk about games that we have been playing now because there are a ton. And it's Taylor. I love Pokemon. Bliss is playing Pokemon Arceus. No, you're playing a ginormous RPG,
dude. It is fucking huge. So I'm playing a game I can't talk about yet. That'll be on next week's show. Then I'll be able to talk about it. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3 still is quite large. It's weird. It is so kind of, as I've come to play it more, it's a comfort food game. You keep playing it and you just keep enjoying it. It's not the best thing that you've ever eaten, but it's always good. It's weird because as good as it looks on Switch compared to the other games on Switch and just in general, a lot of the animations are really stiff. Dally, you've probably seen it on Chronicles 2 as you've been playing it. Yep. A lot of those things are really similar. some of the animation like it's weird because you play the game and you're in a fight and all of those animations look really good and it's very fluid. And then they transition. It's like, okay, it's time for a cutscene, and everybody makes sharp 90-degree turns when they want to go and like exit stage left or something along those lines. And like those animations are very stiff. And it's like because the rest of it looks so good, those animations are especially like they stand out especially so because it takes away from how impressive the rest of it looks.
Hmm.
And so I've been running into that, but I mean the rest of it's all really good. I mean it tells an interesting story.
Sure.
It looks impressive on the Switch. The raw like so you have the difference between the fully choreographed cutscenes and then the pseudo in-engine cutscenes. When you have the pseudo in-engine cutscenes, they're just like it just doesn't you lose something because they've taken the models, they're following the pre-rigged, cutscene model, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
the full cutscene. It's not the same. So the
Mm-hmm.
the fully animated cutscenes look all really good, which just make the half animated cutscenes look worse by comparison. So anyway, the game's still good. The story is interesting. It just, I'm at like 40 fucking hours, man. I'm tired.
Already, man.
I'm tired. I mean, I'm sure like probably a good
Mm-hmm.
8 hours of it is idle time because,
Sure.
shit,
Oh yeah.
it's over the weekend. I'm trying to play it. I've got it docked. My daughter comes out of nowhere and I just
Of
pause
course.
it. I just press the menu
But you're
button
playing it
and
docked. Any reason between docked and handheld mode?
so I mean I've done a handful of both. The biggest reason is because I have two monitors here
Oh, okay.
and
All
one.
right.
So what I'll do is, on my time where so that I don't have to move anywhere, if I've got free time during my day, I'll just swap my input on one of my monitors to HDMI, and boom, I can just play it right on
Mm-hmm.
my screen without leaving my desk, and that's convenient. And then I'll pick up and go if I have to move for some reason or another. But yeah, no, I mean like I said, it still looks really good. I mean, it almost looks more impressive handheld than it does in the dock, especially because I have a 2K monitor and not a 1080p.
Sure.
2K, the Switch really struggled. I like because there's no inherent upscaling for anything above 1080p. It's just it's just raw resolution translation. So it's not meant to be displayed on 1440p at whatever
Mm-hmm.
in any capacity. But it all plays really good. I mean, it's still a good game.
Hmm.
It's I'll leave it there. I said my piece. That's what I have to say about Xenoblade. Like I said, it's still really fun to play. I'm gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
keep playing it until it's done. The story is finally kind of hitting a really good stride. But as
Sure.
I mentioned before, I'm at like you know whatever somewhere between 30 to 38 hours of raw playtime. It's a lot of playtime.
I
What about
am.
you?
Well, obviously still playing Xenoblade 2.
Yeah, I saw you.
Uh,
I saw you clock into Xenoblade 2.
yeah, I clock into that sucker. And I mentioned before, I'm not starting Xenoblade 3 until I finish Xenoblade 2.
Which I
But once
respect,
I,
and I
yeah,
think it's the right move.
yeah, and I'm actually there's a I don't know if this is the same way as Xenoblade 3. There's a lot of fucking fetch quests in Xenoblade 2. Holy it
So yeah, I
is.
mean, I have moved on.
Ugh.
Maybe I'm like bringing back my repressed Xenoblade Chronicle 2 memories. I am skipping if it shows me in a secondary quest, I cancel it. I'm not doing that shit.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
same.
done.
Instead
I
of
am
little thing at
canceling
the
the
top of the
secondary
screen.
quest. I'm going back to my main quest. You can catch me later.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Um, the only secondary quests, and this is me. Obviously, there's a gotcha element to this game, right? To get the blades, the driver blades.
True.
Which, by the way, you don't need to really. do that.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
It will make the game easier, though.
Yeah, it will make the game easier. Yeah, it's definitely if you get a couple of the better drivers, but or the better blades. But I am I've unlocked a bunch of those blades, and I think I'm just about to finish like chapter 5. I think there's like eight or 9 chapters. I'm just about to finish chapter 5. A lot of shit has gone down. And there's like cool like the mercenary stuff. You can kind of send your things out for like a half hour, some of your blades and rack up experience points and take on these little quests. There's a lot of side shit in Xenoblade in the series in general. Xenoblade 2 has a ton of it, way mind-blowing compared to Xenoblade 1 and X. I can't imagine what Xenoblade 3 is like, but yeah, I spent far too much time doing these dumb side quests to the point where my characters are way OP for the majority of the lands that I show up in the story. Like I'll show up.
So have you been adding, at the rest spots, have you been doing the level up scenario?
Yep.
So that's the problem. So the reason why, and as I've been like reading up on, because the functionality exists in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 as well. Okay. The reason why the option to level up at rest spots was added is because of how overpowered you got from Xenoblade Chronicles 1.
Yeah, that's true.
Just from doing normal shit. So they added the option of you get to choose whether or not you level up all of that bonus XP or not. So you can stay lower leveled if you want, or you can level up exactly however much you want, or not at all. And actually, if you do New Game Plus, at least I'm assuming this is the case in 3. This was the case in number 2. You can actually de-level.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you do New Game Plus on Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you could actually roll backwards if you went up too high from the bonus XP stuff.
And maybe that's part of the issue, because then Xenoblade 2 ends up really being like I'm going to shut this guy down over here. Ends up, if you're overpowered, it's really, it just becomes like I said, fetch quest galore. And in the story itself, there are fetch quests that you have to get through. Like, go over here to get this. This blade is running amok, so go follow the blade here. Okay, you get to the point. It's like, okay, she disappeared again. The only way to get to her is you gotta go find 5 yellow barrels. Like, okay, all right, go find the 5 yellow barrels. Okay, you go to find the 5 yellow barrels. The guy's like, well, they actually went to the green barrels, but to get to the green barrels, you need to get 5 of these or 4 of these stupid things, and they're located on a different continent. So then you get it's like. I don't want to do that. I just want to go to the freaking story.
It's not been that bad. At least, I mean, I've been following primarily main story stuff. Not been that bad. It's good play story.
Yeah, that's good. But I'm still enjoying Xenoblade 2 because I'm a fan of the series. But anyways, the game that I've been playing.
Hit me.
Let me share. This is the Japanese trailer. And then I'll get into like the stuff that I've been playing. It's called. There's a character. Let me preface this. There's a character in Japanese manga from like the early '90s called Crayon Shin. It's about this 5-year-old kid, this preschooler, who just does he's literally just a kid, and it's about it's like Dennis the Menace essentially. And he makes his parents and his relatives angry, and he goes on his little adventures. Well. They actually made a series of games in anime based on Crayon Shin that became really popular. Never made it to the US. I think there was like PlayStation games.
It's like
that were made.
That's many.
Many. And
I mean, we hold on. Let me as I pull up the Wikipedia pages if I know offhand.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia.
We have Game Boy games. We have Super Famicom games. We have arcade games. We have Sega. We've got 3DO. We've got many PC games.
Many.
PlayStation, Game Boy Advance, Wii, Nintendo DS.
None of which came
Nintendo
to
3DS. Yet not a single one was ever been
never.
localized.
So there was so here's a little bit of the background info on this. There was a company that was making games called My Summer Vacation, which were not necessarily Crayon Shin related, but while those games don't exist anymore, the developer, I'm sorry, I'm messing around with the USB cord for some reason. The developers of those games are still around, and they actually made this game, which is the first one to release in the US. Now, this has actually been out for like a year in Japan. This is the first time it's coming out here in the West. And the game is called, all right, ready. Shin-chan, Me and the Professor on Summer Vacation, The Endless 7-Day Journey. Whew, there you go. Quirky ass name, but there's reasons to it because it mixes obviously summer vacation stuff. This is an adventure game, and I'm gonna show you my videos and pictures that I took in a second. This is an adventure game with a little bit of action in there. You can catch bugs, you can go fishing, you can dance, you can. There's a bunch of little like silly, very easy little fetch quests that you kind of take on, but you're earning like yen cash, basically pocket money here and there. And it's all about this. There's kind of a couple little stories here, very easily digestible stories. There's this professor, which you kind of saw there, who created this camera that takes weird photographs. I don't want to, there's a dinosaur. I don't want to get into that until later. But and then there's this girl essentially that you can, if you take enough pictures with this camera and do a bunch of like stuff around town, you kind of win a, I think you kind of win a date. Anyways, whatever. You star as Shin-chan and his family. They're on vacation in this little town. They're staying with friends or whatever, and they live above. They're staying above this restaurant, and so they're like, "Hey, kid, for the next week, go out and have fun." That's that scene right there. Every morning they wake up with like a stretch and a dance, which I think is kind of badass. And they're like, "Hey, go and have fun. Just go explore this town." It reminds me, and this is a weird way to say it, reminds me of that Peppa Pig game that's out. From the idea of it's about kids and kids doing stuff. However, in this case, Shin-chan is 1,000 times more interesting than Peppa Pig because he is part Peppa, part George Pig, so Peppa's younger brother, part Dennis the Menace, and all taken with a definite adult sense of humor.
Yeah, which definitely comes from the original, like
Yes.
the source material of Shin-chan.
Exactly. Yeah, Playland says he's sort of the Bart Simpson of Japan. It's definitely
a little bit.
Yeah, and so he's on vacation. It's an adventure game. You run around. It takes place over endless journey over 7 days. Okay, the endless week. And you run around and you get these little tasks, right? So you start off by taking photographs, and as the days kind of go on, the game grows in scope of things you can do to the point where dinosaurs aren't involved. Gameplay wise, I mean, you saw the video. That's all the game is, but it's so freaking charming and so enjoyable. And I know why Zach wanted this game.
Yeah,
been out in Japan for the last year. They love it over there. Let me load this thing up because I have to start with. Let me start with the pictures, and then I'll start with the I'll start with the video. I took some of the screen caps here. So he back out of that thing. He's just freaking fun to run around this town and do stuff with. So Cap lives all this guy lives for is that one drink at the restaurant after he wraps up. It's like literally adult humor. The guy wants to get drunk. There's Crayon Shin down here, purposely designed to look like bad drawings from a kid. Like that's why all the faces have like some weird lines, proportions, and all that kind of stuff.
That's also just the art. That's just the art of the anime, the manga,
It really
everything.
is, exactly. So that's the theme. Is the theme of the anime and manga was around a kid. That's why, again, why the hair is all it, and they translate it perfectly to 3D to the game. Controls. This is the butt dance. This is so freaking funny. There is a button where he will just shake his butt. That's it. He'll bend over and shake his butt. That's what preschoolers do. But if you hold the button and you walk around, he can like go zooming around town at like Mach speed. So me trying to figure out like, oh crap, I can actually move around pretty quickly. You see some of the stuff happen in the background there. You guys see that? You can see the screen, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. Did he stop? Yeah, he's kind of stopped there. Do the button again. Nope. All right. Let me go to this next one.
Maybe the next one, Dally.
The next one. Here we
go. This is certainly this one.
Certainly. Shake that booty. This is it. This is fantastic. Bend over, shake that booty. It's a lot of fun. You can face wherever you want and shake that booty again. I think it's an ass button. Everyone talks about it. It's an ass button. But, literally, there he is sitting there. Not only can you hold the button, I discovered that if you start moving around, let's see if that captures it here. There you go. It's by the way, really nice artwork to the game. Beautiful artwork, I gotta say. Like there's subtle things like stuff is kind of floating around. This is me realizing, oh shit, look at that, I can bend over. And it's actually a way to like
just go like 1 million miles an hour.
But it's such a stupid kid thing. So you got the camera, you take pictures of moments. So that's this is actually these are all the people, and it gives you options like you can basically write down
who's that other guy.
Yeah, and it's like it names all three characters as one option, which is called fastball, and then the second option is curveball. Curveball, it's like he says, who's that other guy, which is really funny. So there's like it has those little bits of charm as you capture bugs with your net or capture fish. They'll kind of pop up here, and so there's a little bit of collection going on. There's farming involved because you actually grow some plants and stuff. You can collect plants outdoors too. And look at that. It's a really gorgeous looking image there. I wonder if they took like a screen, like a photograph from somewhere and just modified the heck out of it, but really nice artwork. At the end of the day, you guys take a wonderful father-son bath together, a nice hot bath. I think it's always great to do. And then you go into the night cycle. One of the things I found that was really charming was across from the house that you're at, when your neighbors read stories every day to these other kids that you befriend early on. And I think it's kind of cool. You can just kind of sit and listen to the stories that this lady is telling. And she repeats it once she's done. But like the first one is about a dinosaur, which I thought was really cool. But it's just a really neat little thing. And every night there's like little things that happen in this town. Very personable stuff. Again, these are some of your friends there. I want to save my current progress. Here we go. Me saving. Let's see. What was I doing there? Here's another day. Again, they start off every morning with a stretch and a dance. I think that's all pretty cool. I'm gonna start doing this too. By the way, I think it's a great way to start my day. There he is, moving that booty, running around. So. Day 2, you get the ability to start. There's a board here. You get the ability to start collecting stuff. So you get these items that she'll list on her board, like certain leaves and a salmon, and then you bring it back to her, and she gives you pocket change. And essentially, and again, the ASO stamp card. But you get enough stars, and you get extra money, and you start, doing this kind of stuff. You have enough. You have stamina. Which I don't know if we'll show you here. Okay, there you go. Maybe I'll show stamina. He's got this stamina. I'm going to pause it real quick here. Let me back up. So this is your day, your energy for the day. Now you have the option to let it run out and you get tired and then basically your day is over. Or you can eat a snack actually at some point. You can get some snacks, eat snacks, and it extends your stamina for the rest of the day. And that's the sun. It kind of tells you, how high up it goes. But the more stamina you have, the more stuff you can do around the town. You can go out further. and so on, which I think is definitely something that you have to kind of understand that balance, and you want to do it really quickly because you again technically only have a week, but it's the way to keep getting further and further, start unlocking more stuff, and going from there. And yeah, it's just such a simple, freaking little charming game. There he is. She can tell you that she dyes, weaves and dyes fabrics, and he's gonna run out. And that's the only thing is some of the camera angles of this kind of throw me off a little bit. But because it does flip around a lot, you can see how it does that. But you can go fishing, which is again, it's a very Zach thing, which I think is pretty funny. But fishing's very easy. Poor Zach. Fishing's very easy. I mean, it literally, you can, if you're in that other view where you're way above here, it can be hard to kind of see the fish.
Yeah.
But you hear a little bit of the water. You kind of hear, you have to have the volume up really loud. You can hear the water kind of make a noise. And you caught a fish. If you're in this view, you can definitely see it because you can see the little fish there and he's nibbling on it. Yeah, there you go. And you can switch between your rod or your pole, whatever. And then you can catch bugs and go into these. And every NPC, every character is so nicely realized, even with like one or two lines of dialogue. You know exactly what each person is about. I'm really enjoying this game. I mean, it's got such great heart. It's really funny. And it makes me feel like a preschooler, which is definitely not what that Peppa Pig game did. Speaking of Peppa Pig again. But Shin Chan, Crayon Shin, he's just a great little dude. Here, I'm gonna show him running around here.
It's a nice when a game like this can make you feel young instead of making you feel old.
It really does.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. It makes me feel like a young kid instead of makes me feel like an old dude playing Peppa Pig games because it's
exactly.
But I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, there's a little cafe and bar. There's a little DJ setup over here. You kind of chat with this dude. Again, great art, great style to this. He's literally a crayon drawing on these beautifully hand painted backdrops, and again, it reminds me of the Sierra games, the adventure games from way back in the day that I used to play on PC back in the 80s. But with a modern spin, some mini games, some other stuff. It just works so well. Definitely, there's your friends there. Definitely worth picking up. I think there's no reason not to pick up this game. Only if you're a horrible person should you not
stop it.
But it's on Switch, and I think coming to PC pretty shortly here. I don't know. It's definitely in Japan. It's been available. I don't know if it's fully available in the US or not, but yeah, they said go ahead, start showing this, start talking about it. There's no embargoes. There you go. Enjoy it. Yeah, game of the year right here. No, but it's a lot of fun. Real fun, real cute. Check it out. And that's it. That's it. Yeah. A lot of his tales come from his picture diary. Yes, so he has that picture diary that I showed you. You can kind of go back, look at it in different aspects throughout the week, but it's just kind of fun to see all the stuff that you collect. It reminds me, weirdly, the game that we saw at PAX East that we loved, the hand-painted one that was sort of an adventure game that had you doing certain things, remember, by the French developers that did an awesome job. I can't remember. It's tip of my tongue right now, but we gave it a Team Choice Award. But yeah, it reminds me a little bit of that, and I think that's why why I find this game charming. But great, it's a great game. Definitely check out Shin Chan. I think or Crayon Shin if you want the Japanese version. I think it's totally worth it. Really, really fun game. That's it. That's what I've been playing. I'm sure I've been playing a couple other things that are one thing's under embargo. Two things are under embargo. Wow. I think I'm playing the same thing you're playing. Somehow got a code for that too. So we'll get into that next week. But yeah, that's it, man. I see you're zoning out because you're looking at more Shin-Chan stuff. You've fallen down the
a little bit. I looked at a couple. I'm not gonna lie. I pulled up the
awesome.
I pulled up some of the media from. I mean, like I said, you could already tell I went down the Wikipedia rabbit hole of his other things. So I was maybe looking at one or two of the other games that have ever
Oh,
released on some of
okay.
the other consoles,
Okay.
and I
Nice.
was the curiosity got the better of me. Most of them don't look as good as
No,
this one.
this
If
is
you want me
great.
to be perfectly honest,
Yeah, I think there's a reason why they never landed in the West.
yeah,
But this one definitely
some of
did.
them, yeah, for
And
sure.
I would say check it out. But that's it. That's it for the side quest. Wow, we knocked out. Look at it. It's an hour and 15 minutes, just the two of
Yeah,
us.
and
Having
we
a good
blabbed
time.
about a whole bunch of shit.
Having a good time. We saved the game industry. We got a bunch of I'm seeing like thumbs up and hearts in our Facebook stuff, and we got a bunch of likes all over the place,
Oh
viewers.
my god, so
Good
many.
stuff. So many. But yeah, it is. It's the end of a long weekend, or not long. It's the end of a weekend, I should say. On to the next week. We're gonna have a fun week ahead. I think there's, like I said, there's some more reveals this week or shows and stuff.
We can hope.
We can hope. I think that Kirby game launches this week as well. That's dropping this week, so that'll be kind of an interesting. I might check.
Yeah, that's going to be a video game.
Yeah, it'll be a video game. The year of Kirby. But yeah, with that, definitely check us out. If you're watching on Facebook, please subscribe to our podcast audio form. If you don't, that's totally fine.
Still subscribed anyway.
Still subscribe anyway. And then you can just subscribe, rate us with whatever you think is right. 5 stars is always good, because if you don't get 5 stars, then there's a lot of crying. And then yeah, there's that's the Gamescom. Oh, that's right. The Gamescom opening night live, is that next week? There's a bunch of stuff.
Gamescom Live
is
8/23, so that is in 9 days.
There you go, 9 days. So there you go. We have we are going to be co-streamers for that, but we'll see how tired.
Oh, actually, opening night is the 25th.
25th.
But either way,
yeah,
we got time. But next week.
Good. You can find us sidequesting.com, at SideQuesting on the socials, SideQuesting TV on Twitch and on YouTube. Like and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch. Please subscribe to us on both those, follow, whatever it takes. Just click it. Those numbers, it seems like a really weird, it seems like cosmetic or some way to buff our egos. But no, those numbers help for all kinds of things, like getting us into the stupid algorithm is a big one. And yeah, so please like and subscribe. Just whatever interaction you want to do really does help us. And we love you guys and gals and pets for it. You can find me at Dolly Domofsky right there. You can find this wonderful man right there at Taylor Bliss.
Yeah, we're here.
Right there. You can find us both on the Discord, the SideQuesting Discord. So definitely check us out there, because we have a good time chatting with all of y'all and professing our love for the Steam
100% of the time.
I didn't mention that real quickly. I'm playing one of the review games, playing both the review games on Steam Deck, which I would not play. I think what's happened to me is in my old age, I'm in my 40s now. I'm gonna end with a stupid story of how I injured myself. But in my old age, I like to not be in front of a computer, because what you don't see here is I have my work computer and my drawing tablet. And it's you're trying to look around the corner. I can see that, Taylor. You're like looking around the corner so you can see that stuff. Yeah, you got so. And my laptop that I do all my work on is right here, my fun laptop. And I don't want to be in front of a screen after 5 or 6 o'clock. It's just, I'm done. I'm cooked, especially in my own house. And so having a portable screen, I should say, is a lot better. And that's why the Steam Deck is helping me out. But and I think that's why I've transitioned into a handheld gamer almost exclusively for my games. It's difficult for me to get in front of a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox, even though I have both those damn consoles, to get in front of those, because then I can't watch TV, right? And it's weird. Anyways, I'm going to end on an injury story. You usually kick off the episodes on injury stories. We did it every week with poor Aaron, but here's my injury. So last
It's been a
Saturday,
minute. It's been a minute.
it's been a minute. Last Saturday, I went to my nephews had their joint birthday party at Sky Zone. Do you guys have like trampoline parks? I'm sure you know what a trampoline park is, an indoor trampoline park. And they said, "Hey, Uncle Dolly, you're right. You, go ahead. You're registered. You can jump with us." I'm like, "No, kids. Yeah, I'm too old for this. You guys play." And there was like a bajillion kids. There were like 2 other birthday parties going on, and there's like trampolines all over the place, and the kind that you jump in the middle, you can bounce off the ones on the walls, you can do all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Like, no, we want you to play tag with us. I'm like, all right. So there was like, I think there was like 6, 7, 8 kids in there that were there so far as part of their birthday party. So I'm like, all right, fine. I put the socks on that they give you, the special socks, and chasing the kids around these trampolines, having a good, well, they're having a good time. I'm getting very tired very quickly because I'm an adult. I get done and I'm walking back out, and lo and behold, one thing I realized is I can get some pretty good height because of my general size as an adult. It's pretty good height on these trampolines. I see 2 basketball hoops side by side. One's a little lower, one's a little taller, and with trampolines underneath them. And I thought,
yeah,
I'm gonna dunk for the first time in my life. I'm gonna dunk on a 10-foot basketball hoop. Then says, "Oh snap!" And that's really what happened, because I grabbed the basketball, and they weight these basketballs a little differently, by the way, because they don't want them bouncing all over the place in the trampoline. So these guys are weighted. So I'm holding this basketball, and I'm doing a couple preparatory jumps, and finally I go to jump down before I launch myself up, and I caught, as I jumped down, I caught my right leg wrong, and it sent a shooting pain all the way up my whole body, through my spine, through my neck, to my head, as the reverberation of this trampoline bounce, and I managed to go back down, and as I hit the bottom is when it snapped back up, and that's what caused this intense pain in my body that I thought, oh man, I felt pretty bad leaving that. I'm like, okay, you know what? at least I made the dunk. That was, at least I got that part. But I'm in so much pain right now. That day, I'm in so much pain right now. I get done. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit down for a bit. Pain goes away. I'm not thinking anything of it. 2 days later, and since then, my right arm now, if I hold it up here, yep, there it goes. It gets numb.
Tingles.
And so either I have a pinched nerve, which is what typically happens. Muscular stuff like that, or I may actually have a spinal injury up here that may be causing.
Oh, please no! I would.
So yeah, me trying to slam dunk was not a slam dunk. It was an injury in my old age. I recommend not, once you pass 22, 23 years old, if you're not living and working at a trampoline park, don't do what I tried to do. With that said, I'm gonna leave you guys with those wonderful thoughts and leave you with a beautiful evening. Taylor, take care. We'll see you all in the next episode of
Thank you.
The Side Quest.